Good morning, students. It is one of the videos of the lesson The Enemy, taken from the book Vistas, written by Pearl S. Buck, an American writer who really traveled all around the world, and her most famous book, The Good Earth, for which she was awarded the Nobel Prize, and which she described about the most miserable figures and the faces of the Asians and the countries of Asia and Africa, where people live such a sad life, underprivileged, and how they live in poverty. That is well described. Here I would like to tell you something about the author, then I will tell you about its characters and other persons. So here, when was she born? She was born on June 26, 1892 in Hillsborough, West Virginia. Her parents were Southern Presbyterian missionaries stationed in China, where Pearl S. Buck spent most of her first 40 years of her life. She was awarded in 1932 won the Pulitzer Prize and the Howells Medal in 1935. For The Good Earth, she was adopted as a major MGM film in 1937, and in 1938 won the Nobel Prize in Literature, the first American woman to do so. By the time of her death in 1973, Pearl S. Buck published over 70 books, novels, collections of stories, biography and autobiography, poetry, drama, children's literature, and translations from the Chinese. Really, her work includes the figures of Chinese. Really, she had contributed a lot in the field of English literature and the knowledge of the people of the world. Here, you would like to know about the protagonist of the chapter, The Enemy. Who is he? Dr. Sadao Hoki is the main protagonist, and when he spent his childhood in Japan, he lived with his father, and he had spent 8 valuable years in America. His father had only one ambition: to make his son become something very great and become a useful person for the nation. As his father was a true nationalist and believed in traditional life spent in Japan as the Japanese do, he really climbed mountains, vast islands laid along the coast. His house was made of stone, located upon rocks, and he was well above the narrow beach. I would also like to tell you about his character. Dr. Sadao Hoki was an eminent Japanese surgeon and scientist. He had spent 8 valuable years of his youth in America to learn all that he could. He had learned surgery and medicine. He was perfecting a discovery which would render ounce entirely clean. He lived in America for 8 years. When he was 22 years old, he went to America and returned after 8 years. Since then, he had become a surgeon and a scientist. His house was built on rocks well above a narrow beach that was outlined with quaint pines. It was on a spot of the Japanese coast. Clearly, he is a man of great determination and he also maintains the ethics of the professionalism, that is the profession of a doctor. Here the condition of the war is so worse as Japan was a developed nation at the time and General Takima, who was very powerful general, wise general, who had got the victory at the war of Manchuria, but really he was sick man. He had some trouble in his stomach and gallbladder, so he might need Dr. Sadao for his treatment as he could not believe in the German surgeons as they are ruthless. So this very journal did not send Dr. Sadao wherever the fight with Japan was fought. He always kept him in the country because his life was at stake and if he needed some kind of help, he certainly could just go there and treat him. So he did not like to send him anywhere else, rather he wanted him to stay in the country. So it was his faith and he had such credibility in his credentials and the professionalism that he was not sent out of the country. Here it is about Hana, who is Dr. Sadao's wife, and first time they met in America when Dr. Sadao had gone to study medicine and surgery. As his father was highly ambitious that Sadao would contribute something in the formation of the country's progress. So really, Hana, who was his wife, met each other at Professor Harley's house in America. She was very affectionate, caring, and devoted to her husband. She knows what her husband wants and she does not want that her husband should fall in any kind of trouble. As Sadao was a faithful son, and since he did not get the consent of his father, he did not marry Hana. Hana also accepted the nationality of Japan and she came to Japan and lived since her life. Means she did not see any American as her brother, but she also had the same notion as Dr. Sadao and all the Japanese had. So, in this story, you will learn more about Hana as both of them had two sons and really they were beautiful. They had the same affection even after years of marriage. They believed in each other. There are so many challenges faced in this story by the protagonist. What are they that you need to know? As the night was misty, and both of them, when they came on the railing to see the waves, as Hana was there, Dr. Sadao also comes, and so both of them like to have an affair of love, expressing their faith, and Hannah put her arms around his shoulders. Really, they saw a very mysterious body, black body, staggering and wounded and collapsed. What was that very figure? They could not understand, but after coming down from the railing, they come to know that this is a man with a cap on which USA was written. He was not able to walk on his own. He was almost in such a blood-stained condition, and he was only having the breathing. He had lost so much blood, and there was a hole from which the blood was still flowing out. So Dr. Sadao, when saw this very young man, he just did something. He wanted to put the moss and sand so that the rest of the blood could be restored. As he felt his pulse, which was so weak and feeble, that really confirmed that he could not leave it. He was not provided instant treatment. Both of them converse. Sadao and Hannah wanted to have a understanding to bring that very foreigner, an American, to their house or not, and Hannah gave her silent consent as Sadao was willing, as he understands that it is the first duty of a doctor to provide the treatment to such a person. So here there are some challenges that you will know, and both of them bring them to the house, wash them. There are some other servants, that is what maid servant, that is Yumi, who takes care. He was operated. Hannah also gave him anesthesia. Bullet was removed. It was almost near the kidney. And I will explain it all in detail. His life was saved, and prisoner was fed and rested to recovery, but was anxious for his future. I will tell you all these things in the next video that you require to know. Thank you. Thank you.